I'm reporting to you from the Cattle Industry Convention going on in San Antonio. With me, Pete McClymont. He's the Executive Vice President of the Nebraska Cattlemen. And Pete, when a lot of folks arrived on probably Tuesday, the transition day, they were greeted by 40 degrees and rain and didn't feel like they were escaping.
But yet they got away from the snow and the cold and the wind back home, so 40 may not be what they were planning or hoping for, but it's a lot better than what we had at home.
Pete, I know that Nebraska always has a big contingent at the National Convention, and this year I'm sure is no exception. Let's talk about some of what's happening from a Nebraska perspective.
Well, we're excited. We've got the best turnout we've had in recent years for Nebraskans attending, so that's terrific that we've got people that are down here. So the flip side is we've got our leadership, our officers, Dave McCracken, Barb Cooksley, Troy Stowwater are here as officers, so that's great. Then numerous board members, so we're going to have a great contingent here this week.
Now, I know that we have some leadership as well making its way from Nebraska into the national ranks. Tell us about that.
Well, we're lucky in recent years we've had J.D. Alexander, who served as NCBA president, and also had Todd Schroeder, who chaired live cattle marketing, as well as Chuck Fulkin, who chaired the PREM committee, Property Rights Environment Committee. So from that standpoint, we want to continue that, and it appears that Craig Uden from COZAD, DAR Feeders, looks to be the incoming vice president, so we're thrilled about that. And also, too, we've got Jacqueline Wilson, who is going to be head of the Resolutions Committee as chair. So we're going to keep that ball rolling with leadership.
Well, business items of committee meetings, part of the agenda here, and we take kind of the grassroots developed policy from the states and we bring it to the national level. Anything that Nebraska is watching here of interest?
We're bringing policy on child labor, which we're want to follow that up after what we've seen some national activity. So that's important that we want to see how that goes forward and work with other state affiliates to make that NCBA policy. Obviously, transportation is a huge thing as we see the differences from state to state, and so we want to see some uniformity there, and that's put some pressure on our producers. And then obviously, too, we're bringing some policy in regards to live cattle marketing contracts. So those are things in committees that we're bringing as policy for our members.
As far as the kinds of things that you mentioned immigration, and I know this has been kind of a hot button issue for Nebraska. And why has Nebraska kind of been the leader, really, one of the leaders in that whole issue?
Well, one of the things that we see back home in Nebraska is that the need for labor. It's getting more and more difficult, and the frustration at the national level is something that we're trying to affect change. And so we had 3 years of studying immigration. Our members developed it, and so it's important that we see some movement there. And so, generally we're considered a conservative group, and so when a conservative group has the need and pushes for immigration reform, we get a lot of questions, and so we're going to be here and try to follow up with that effort with our NCBA affiliate partners.
Pete, any idea about the size of the Nebraska delegation that's here, all told?
No, we're going to get some final numbers on that, but we keep getting updates by NCBA every week, so we're appreciative for them keeping us in the loop on who's coming. So it goes by state; it doesn't necessarily go by person and affiliation.
Pete, as far as the kinds of things that you guys have been geared for, even at the state level, tell us about. I know you guys have some priorities there as well, and I think that that's something that we're just gearing up for in the unicameral. So let's transition to kind of the state issues.
Well, one of the things that came out of last week's annual legislative committee meeting and board meeting was our priorities, and obviously at the top of the list is Governor Ricketts has made a commitment for property tax reform. So there were numerous bills introduced, and so we essentially took concepts that we wanted to go forward, reducing ag line valuations from 75 to 65 has been a popular notion over the years. That appears to get some traction. And I think there were some other ideas that were talked about in different bills that could be all molded into one bill, but the Revenue Committee will hear those. So that was one thing. Another was our effort to continue to support brand inspection in the state. So the hearing was last week. We had a good hearing, and the brand committee, the state brand committee, has been terrific to work with. So we're going to work with them and see if we can come up with new ideas that can try to make everybody happy, to get some change that will be modern for what we need for brand.
Greg Ibaugh, state ag director, had some hearings recently on his re-nomination, I guess, by the governor to have another go-around, and kind of ran into some surprising opposition. And I know that the ag groups have kind of rallied to his defense.
Absolutely. Greg's been terrific to work with all these years, and we're really appreciative. So it seemed a little bit odd, and obviously we felt it was wasting time for all the great things he's done. There certainly doesn't have to stop the public from commenting, but by the same token, Greg's been a great ambassador for Nebraska. We've seen our trade partners internationally just grow under his leadership with Governor Heineman. It's great he's going to continue. So we're glad the hearing's over, and we're moving on and being productive.
Now, Governor Heineman certainly was a champion in regard to taking the fight to HSUS, and I guess the jury is still out on whether Governor Ricketts will be as aggressive, but any thoughts about that's probably not an issue that's going to go away?
No, it isn't. And Governor Ricketts has told me specifically and point blank, the fact is his commitment to Nebraska agriculture is no different than the governor's. And so we may continue to get attacks, and Governor Ricketts' approach may be different, but his commitment is still the same for Nebraska producers and our state.
Before we let you go, just anything else that we should have said that you want to add?
Absolutely. I think we're here to see how things move forward on the beef checkoff efforts that has been ongoing with the Beef Checkoff Enhancement Working Group, and so that's important to us. And obviously a lot of interest and scrutiny has been over waters of the U.S., and so to get an update on where that sits with the new Congress, those are two things we're really interested to see what Colin Woodall of NCBA will share with us.
All right, we appreciate the update here today. We've been visiting with the Executive Vice President of Nebraska Cattlemen, Pete McClymont, helping to herd the Nebraska delegation here at the San Antonio Cattle Industry Convention. From the meeting for the Rural Radio Network, I'm Mike LePorte.